The Forgotten House. The house had been abandoned for decades. At least, that's what the townsfolk said. Hidden beyond the thick tree line at the end of Hollow Creek Road, it stood in eerie silence, its windows like hollow eyes, watching, waiting. No one dared to approach it after dark, and even in daylight. Those who ventured too close often left with an inexplicable feeling of being watched. Ethan had heard the stories. He had spent his childhood listening to whispers about the house, how the previous owners had vanished without a trace, how the air around it always smelled faintly of damp wood, and something else, something rotten. But Ethan was no longer a child. He was 17, on the brink of adulthood, and determined to prove the myths were nothing more than old wives' tales. Armed with nothing but a flashlight, a backpack, and a daring heart, he set out just as the sun dipped below the horizon. The forest surrounding the house was eerily quiet, save for the occasional rustling of leaves in the wind. The path leading to the front door was overgrown with weeds, the stone steps cracked and uneven. He hesitated. His own breath sounded too loud in the still air. The house loomed before him, larger than he had imagined, its once white paint peeling away like dead skin. The front door stood slightly ajar, as if it had been waiting for him. A rational part of him urged him to turn back, to forget this foolish dare. But something else, curiosity, defiance, pushed him forward. The floorboards groaned under his weight as he stepped inside. Dust motes floated lazily in the dim light of his flashlight. The air was thick with the scent of decay. Old furniture remained untouched, covered in sheets, frozen in time. Then he heard it. A faint shuffle from upstairs. Ethan froze. His mind raced for a logical explanation, perhaps an animal, the wind. But deep down he knew better. Something was in the house with him. He forced himself forward, one hesitant step at a time. The stairs creaked beneath him, each sound amplifying the silence. As he reached the landing, his flashlight flickered. And then, the whisper came. Right behind him, Ethan spun around, the flashlight trembling in his grip. Nothing. Just the empty hallway stretching behind him. But the whisper had been so close, so impossibly near to his ear that he could almost feel the breath of it. The air had changed. It was heavier now, pressing against his skin, making every step feel labored. The walls seemed closer, the hallway stretching longer than it should have. He needed to leave. Now, turning back toward the stairs, he nearly dropped the flashlight. The front door, the one he had left slightly open, was now shut. His breath came faster, ragged. His mind screamed for logic, for reason, but nothing made sense. The stories, the whispers, they had been warnings, not myths. And he had walked straight into them. Then he saw the footprints, not his own, not fresh, but clear, imprinted in the dust, leading from the stairs to the end of the hallway, where a door stood slightly ajar. The footprints were small, a child's. Ethan didn't want to follow them, but his feet moved on their own, as if something unseen was pulling him forward. The door creaked open wider as he approached, revealing a bedroom frozen in time. A bed with faded floral sheets, a rocking chair near the window, and on the wall, dozens of drawings. They were crude, childlike sketches. A family of 3, a tall man, a woman with long hair, and a small child. But something was wrong. In every drawing, there was another figure, a shadowy shape with long, thin fingers standing just behind them. Ethan swallowed hard. He turned, ready to bolt from the room, when a sound stopped him. Cold. The rocking chair was moving, slowly, methodically, rocking back and forth. And then a giggle, high-pitched, childlike, but hollow. It came from the darkness under the bed. Part 3. The eyes in the dark. Ethan's body locked in place, his breath trapped in his throat. The giggle had been soft, barely a whisper in the stillness, but it sent an ice-cold terror down his spine. He aimed the flashlight toward the bed, the beam trembling as he lowered it to the floor. Two small hands, pale and motionless, peeked out from the shadows beneath the bed frame. They didn't move. They didn't twitch. They just waited. Every fiber in Ethan's body screamed at him to run, to tear himself away from whatever was under that bed. But he couldn't. He had to see. He had to know. Dropping to his knees, he hesitated before lowering his head, peering beneath the bed frame. For a second, nothing. Just darkness. Then, two wide, unblinking eyes stared back at him. The flashlight flickered and died. The room was plunged into pitch blackness. A whisper slid through the darkness, brushing against his ear. "You found me." The next moment, the hands under the bed lunged forward, grasping at his legs with an impossible strength. He screamed, kicking wildly, scrambling backward as the grip tightened. The room shifted, the walls seemed to close in, and the whispers grew louder, overlapping, drowning him in their sound. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, everything stopped. The grip released. The whispers silenced. The room returned to stillness. The flashlight sputtered back to life, its weak beam illuminating the empty space under the bed. The rocking chair stood motionless. The drawings on the wall were gone, the paper peeled away as if they had never existed. Ethan didn't hesitate. He ran, down the stairs, through the front door, into the night. The house loomed behind him, silent and unchanging, as if nothing had happened. But something had. The next morning, when he finally found the courage to speak, he told his mother everything. She listened, her face pale, her fingers gripping the edge of the kitchen table. Then, in a trembling voice, she whispered a question that sent a chill through his bones. "Ethan, why did you go back there? We moved away from that house when you were 4.